President Trump's attacks on the federal workforce, along with some of his most extreme policies, have motivated a number of former civil servants to step into the political arena. J.P. Cooney, a former top deputy to Jack Smith and a veteran of the Public Corruption Division of the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Washington, is running as a Democrat for Virginia's newly proposed 7th congressional district seat. He told the New York Times the biggest catalyst for his decision to run was the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy by federal agents in Minneapolis. Over in Kentucky, Zach Dimbo, a former Justice Department prosecutor, is running as a Democrat for the 6th congressional district seat. He called the Trump administration's hostility toward the men and women he knew at the DOJ and FBI, quote, unpatriotic. And Trina Swanson, who formerly worked at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, threw her hat in the ring for Minnesota's 8th congressional district seat. She told The Times that voters are increasingly asking questions about immigration policy at town halls and community events. All three of them join us now. Thank you three for joining us. I told you during the break, Zach, you're not here, so I would running for office is crazy. So congratulations to all of you for jumping in. It seems like a terrible job to be in Congress. Trina, I want to start with you because immigration is, and more importantly, the way that ICE is operating within the borders of this country is at the top of a lot of conversations, right? And it's been at the top of our conversations for a long time, but it feels like it's bleeding into the rest of the zeitgeist. One, I want to look at this Minnesota Star Tribune poll. The tactics by ICE officers and Border Patrol agents have what? Gone too far, 66%, not gone far enough, 10%, been about right, 23%. When you're hearing from people and you're talking to them about what they're seeing, obviously there's the 2 shootings and killings in Minnesota, but when they're talking about the way that they're operating within the country writ large, what are they telling you?
So I was a government official for 2 decades in immigration. There's a right way to do immigration and a wrong way. I'm hearing that it's happening the wrong way. It's breeding chaos on our streets. They are using small children to lure out their parents. They're going after American citizens for blowing whistles and honking horns and murdering people. So the people of the 8th District in Minnesota are concerned about that. They are hearing that 4,000 people were arrested, yet we have less than 14% that were actually violent criminals, spending tens of millions of dollars that instead could have gone towards education, healthcare, and our affordability crisis. People are upset. I'm really proud of my Minnesota neighbors. They're doing great work standing up to this administration and the chaos. This isn't leadership. This is chaos. When you, as someone who worked on immigration for so long in this country, are these tactics new? Because when I talk to Andrea Flores, who has worked on immigration for a really long time and comes on our show a lot, and other people within the immigration advocacy and activist space, what they say is, ICE and CBP have been doing this for a really long time. We just haven't been paying attention. Has it changed, or are our eyes just opening now? This is Trump's ICE and CBP. So ICE and CBP have always had enforcement roles, but they've been taken away from investigating child trafficking and pornography, and instead diverting all those attentions to detaining people that actually have pending applications, that are here legally, that are doing it the right way. And particularly in USCIS, I manage those officers in Minneapolis. We always looked at national security. We looked at threats to our border. We looked at threats to our people. We decided that only those that were eligible got the benefits, and we worked hard to ensure that. Now they're looking at applications that were already adjudicated under Biden and re-adjudicating them. They're vilifying people so that they're drawing attention away from affordability and the other issues in this country.
Zach, there in Kentucky, what are the issues that you're hearing about as you're on the campaign trail? We've been talking a lot about immigration, but there's, last I heard, also an affordability crisis. There's a jobs crisis. There are a lot of things that have potential voters upset. So what are you hearing?
Yeah, Jonathan, look, you're hitting on exactly what I'm hearing, which is all sorts of folks here in Kentucky, including some who voted for President Trump, did so based on his promise of lower prices on day one. And obviously, that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing things getting harder and harder for Central Kentuckians. And I should add, when we're talking about the tariffs, which are basically just taxes, it's hitting us especially hard here. Things like bourbon, which, as you all know, Canada has not had on their shelves in a long time. Horses are subject to tariffs. Fun fact I've learned on the campaign trail. And meanwhile, the largest Toyota manufacturing plant in the world is in my district, and they announced a $10 billion loss. Just like we've been hearing for a while, it's affordability. That's what people are worried about, and that's one of the things that this Republican Congress is making worse and worse.
JP, I want to dig a little bit more into the why you are doing this, because we all saw your former boss testify before Congress, and he spoke actually fairly emotionally about how disruptive it was and has been for his life and the life of you and all of the lawyers and people who served on the special counsel's team to pursue these prosecutions against Trump and the threats it's caused to your safety. Why, after two extremely stressful and, I use the word almost traumatic years of pursuing that, are you now throwing yourself into this?
Because the threat to the American people, to Virginians, posed by this president has never been more grave in our country's history. A direct threat to democracy, to the rule of law, to the ability of hardworking Americans who play by the rules to ensure a better future for their children. And right alongside of that, we have a United States Congress, a Republican-controlled majority, that is complicit in this president's lawlessness, his abuse of authority. In a circumstance like that, I felt it imperative, with my 18 years of prosecutorial experience, standing up to the most powerful lawbreakers, including the President of the United States, Donald Trump, I felt I had to get in this to provide some hope, some leadership, and some principled courage to turn the tide.